Hello, here we are again with Swami Rama and the discussion on lectures on yoga, which is about traditional Ashtanga yoga, the Yoga Sutras, and we're coming to the end of this little journey that we've been doing. And this is the last chapter, and it is on Samadhi. Concentration leads to one-pointedness. Actually, attention leads to concentration. Concentration leads to one-pointedness, and prolonged concentration leads to meditation. And through meditation, the mind expands into the superconscious state, which is called Samadhi in Patanjali's school of Raja Yoga. Patanjali, however, warns us that the practice of concentration must be accompanied by non-attachment. For one who tries to concentrate while remaining attached to the things of the world will either fail altogether, or his acquired power of concentration will lead him into great danger because he will use it for selfish ends. Not good. So, hello. Hi, Scott. There's Scott. And hi, Nellie. Hello, Anjan. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Yolanda. So here we are, Samadhi. Oops, I pushed the wrong button there. The danger of attachment is exemplified in the technological progress of modern man, what we're all living in. Through the study of the objective world, he has been able to harness the forces of nature, but his attachment to the world has led him to misuse these forces. Atomic energy could be beneficial to all mankind, provided man developed an attitude of concern for humanity. Instead, it has become a threat to mankind's survival because man lacks the attitude of sympathy toward his fellow men. The threat of nuclear fission lies not in the nature of the atom, but rather in man's attachments. And oh my, we've got a Matri. Hi, Matri. And we've got a Rosalind. Hi, Rosalind. Non-attachment does not imply renunciation of the world, although many people mistakenly interpret it in this way. Non-attachment, means perfecting the art of living here and now, performing one's duties skillfully, enjoying life, and yet remaining above dependencies on and addictions to the objects of the world. When this technique is perfected, one can live in the world and yet be free. There, let's hear it for the free. He can use the forces of nature and the objects of the world as tools to further the expansion of consciousness. It is not necessary for anyone to renounce the world in order to attain samadhi. Quite a comment, isn't it? It is not necessary to renounce the world to attain samadhi. How does one cultivate the attitude of non-attachment? He can start on the practical level of actions. He can read about the great sages of any religion, study their lives, learn to love them, and then model his life upon their lives. This will lead to non-attachment in that his love for these ideals will begin to develop into love for all humanity. Pretty cool, huh? Another method of cultivating non-attachment is to discover Brahman, the central or absolute reality manifested in the great sages of history. Realizing that these great men are individual projections of Brahman will soon lead to the realization that Brahman is in all of us and that we are all one. There are two stages of Samadhi. In Savikalpa Samadhi, the lower stage, one retains his sense of individuality. The seeker of truth sees the truth but retains his sense of I as being different from the truth realized. He has to go beyond Savikalpa Samadhi to the stage of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, in which the seeker becomes one with the One, spelled capital uppercase O-N-E. And let's see here. Hello, Hashim. Hello, Mir. Boy, nice bunch of people here today. Here it is to be found the union of Atman with Brahman in this stage of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. This stage transcends the stage of intense love and longing for the ideal, for now the seeker merges into his ideal, and no sense of duality remains. Only one who is well established in the stage of Nirvikalpa Samadhi is an illumined yogi, and only he can truly guide other aspirants. Such a yogi is beyond the bondage of space, time, and causation, and he is ever, get ready, Ma, free, is ever free, for it is possible for him to remain dissolved in Brahman and yet return to normal consciousness. He has achieved eternal bliss. There may seem to be some resemblance between withdrawal from the external world in deep sleep and the highest state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but there is a vast difference between them. One is an unconscious state, while the other is the height of consciousness. Suppose two people go to see a king. One goes and sleeps before the king, while the other remains awake and enjoys the king's presence. The one who remains awake is like one in the blissful state of Samadhi, while the other, being asleep, remains in the darkness of ignorance. In deep sleep, although very near to reality, or the king, one is not aware of the reality. Even during sleep, a yogi remains fully awake to Brahman, and in the waking state, he remains as if asleep to worldly attachments, There you go, Ma. Thank you. There is a free from Ma. It's quite a nice free. In this divine union of lover and beloved, subject and the object are dissolved in an ocean of supreme love. It is difficult to express the joy of this superconscious state. Personal experience is the only way to realize that eternal joy. The word samahitam, which means the state where all of one's questions are answered, conveys the experiential quality of the state of samadhi. When all the questions are answered and there is no doubt of any sort, then the mind soars high beyond the level of languages in which it is accustomed to think. Samadhi is not on the level of thinking or even feeling. And this is why it is also called bhavatita, which means beyond feelings, bhavatita. The state of samadhi, according to Patanjali's system, is considered to be the highest state attainable by yogis. That's cute, Yolanda. Mahafri Pura Shakti. Mahafri Pura Shakti. That's cute. In other schools, the word samadhi is not used. The meditative school of Buddhism, for instance, uses the word nirvana to describe the highest state of consciousness. Through negation, one experiences a void, which is called nirvana. The school of Advaita philosophy defines something beyond nirvana. According to this school, the highest state is called sakshatkara, and it is comparable to the state called samadhi in Patanjali's system. Here, according to Raja Yoga, when the individual consciousness expands itself to become universal consciousness, when jiva becomes purusha, jiva is the soul with samskaras, with attributes, then the word samadhi is used. It is a state beyond mind, action, and speech. It is the eighth and final rung on the ladder on the yoga ladder, and is achieved when the aspirant establishes practice firmly, is able to continue his meditation for a long time without interruption, yet with full devotion and reference, and when the subtle sense of self-identity vanishes, allowing control of the latent modifications of the mind. Then samadhi is attained. These few practical hints will help you in your practice of meditation, and he enumerates several of them here. Number one, whatever spiritual method you follow, practice it systematically and regularly. The reward is immense. 2, laziness or sloth is the greatest enemy. Life is short, time is fleeting, and the obstacles are many. Conquer them by sincere effort and prayer. Help comes from a higher level to sincere aspirants. 3, just as one eats morning, noon, afternoon, and night, so also will one have to meditate 4 times a day if one wants to realize the truth quickly. This is the source of our 4 times a day meditation that we do here in our meditation room at the ashram. It's a good principle. So we can have a morning meditation that's a little deeper, and an evening one before bedtime, and then fill in 2 other even very brief times during the day. It's very easy to do, actually, for those who are sincere about this. Nothing wrong with taking 1 minute out to have a brief meditation midday and near the end of the afternoon. When one meditates, one will develop divine virtues, and a spiritual path is constructed in the mind. If one does not practice regularly and becomes lax, the spiritual path will be washed away by a flood of impure thoughts. Regularity in meditation is of paramount importance. Many have discovered this principle here by getting away for a little bit, and then you look back and you realize months have gone by, and you say, what happened? And you notice that something is missing in life. So don't let it happen. Little bit every day. Number 4, meditation leads one to the gate of intuitive knowledge, which is real knowledge. It is a mysterious ladder which takes the aspirant from earth to heaven. Truth is the Atman, but one cannot realize that truth without meditation. The paths are many, but one should follow only one path and practice only one method. All the different paths meet at the gate of the kingdom of Atman. Do not condemn anybody's method or religion, but instead follow your own. Methods should not change again and again. The fundamentals of all great religions are one and the same. The mind assumes the form of the objects it cognizes. When the aspirant continuously meditates on the inner Atman, he reaches the state of Samadhi, and in this blissful state, nothing is seen or heard. Nothing is seen or heard. There is no body consciousness. There is only one consciousness, and that is the consciousness of the all-pervading Atman. This superconscious experience is called Turiya, or the fourth state. The first three all of you know this, the first three stages, waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep, are common to everyone. And the fourth is latent in everyone. When a yogi establishes himself in the fourth state, he experiences the living reality in his mind, action, and speech. Then he realizes at all times and under all circumstances that he is identical with existence, knowledge, and bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. Real spiritual life begins after one enters into this state of superconsciousness. Listen to that again. Real spiritual life begins after one enters into this state of superconsciousness. It is a state of divine peace. Samadhi is not a state that can be attained easily, but if one achieves it, supramental knowledge or intuitional knowledge is experienced, and one does not possess this. And one who does not possess this cannot understand the true meaning of religion. In this state, the senses, mind, and intellect cease functioning. And just as a river merges into the ocean, so does the individual soul merge into the Supreme Soul, and all limitations disappear. Sounds a little bit like being free, huh? And there is Raj. Hi, Raj. Or hello, folks. So often beginners are afraid of this union because they think that their individualities might dissolve or be engulfed. Actually, what occurs is not a loss of individuality, but an expansion of individuality. As long as the individual mind functions within the limited realms of individual consciousness, one can meditate but never attain samadhi. The deepest state of meditation, however, expands individual consciousness, and when it has been expanded to its fullest capacity, that is called samadhi, sometimes called sleepless sleep, the soundless sound, the highest state of peace or silence. However we may describe it, this is the highest state which a Raja Yogi can attain while at the same time remaining aware of his attainment. Many errors, failures, and fallacies face the aspirant on this divine journey. One of the greatest of these is laziness. Laziness. Hello, Nicola. Hi. Laziness. Where did the laziness go? I got lazy and I lost the word laziness. One of the greatest of these is laziness. For instance, after a short period of meditation, one may feel like sleeping, and further meditation then becomes difficult. This is because one has not yet formed the habit of sitting in a steady posture and meditating on a single object. During meditation, the aspirant may feel that he is rising from his seat. Some may feel that they are flying in the air. Various persons have different experiences, all of which are functions of the mind, and all of which can become obstructions in the path of meditation. To the wise, they give courage for further progress. Hi, Johnny. Absolutely, Rosalind. Yes, fear is extremely common. And note that, remember, in the 5 kleshas that Patanjali outlines, first is avidya, forgetting, then is asmita, individuation, then is raga and devesha, attractions and aversions, and then comes abhinivesha, fear. And so as we reverse that process inward, the first thing that we encounter is the fear. Then we run into the aversions, then we run into the attractions, then we let go of the individuation, and finally we move beyond the avidya back to the true self. You may recall in Swami Rama telling the story in his Living with the Himalayan Masters book that when the boss told him to leave India, leave the Himalayas and go teach, but he said, what do you want me to teach them, our religions? And he said, no, you foolish boy. First, teach the people about fear. The first lesson to learn is the fear. It's very common that somebody will say, but I don't have any fear. And what happens is we are so locked into our identities that we don't even realize it. We just don't even realize that we are wearing a lot of false identities and we are clinging to them. And we're very reticent to use the word fear. Most all of us like that. But we're actually shot through with fear. We just don't want to lose our identities. Thank you very much. Don't bother me. I say, don't blow on my house of cards. I have built a house of cards built on attractions, aversions, and false identities, and don't want anybody to mess with it. And that is called fear underneath it all. One of the greatest of the laziness, where am I here? Some, to the wise, they give courage for further progress, all these obstructions. Some hear melodious sounds and others see light. Some receive spiritual joys, others get both light and joy. These are temporary phases and may encourage those who pass through them. On the other hand, there will be those who will not see or experience any such visions. It is of no consequence. All of these experiences are hallucinations, delusions, and illusory visions. We don't want to call it that. We want to think that my vision, my hallucination is important. I get an email from time to time. Somebody will write me and say, I'm having this great something going on. Can you please help me understand? I'm not sure if maybe I'm hallucinating. And then we'll say a sentence that basically says that they know, they're certain that it absolutely has great meaning to them. But they'll include something on maybe I'm just hallucinating, and then expecting that what's going to come back as a validation of how great it is. And instead comes back the thing that says, maybe you're right, you're probably hallucinating. It is in the nature of the mind to hallucinate. And some of the hallucinations are very, very beautiful. You know this, Rosalind, you are an artist. And so you know that the creative arts that flows out of you starts as an inner vision, and that is a hallucination. So these are not negative things. But they are not necessary for progress in meditation, Swami Rama adds here. In the beginning, the aspirant should avoid the artificial light of this world and try to make his abode in darkness so that he may see the living light within. Often visions do come from the inner world. but they come and go without leaving any permanent impressions on the mind. These are visions which appear from seen, heard, or imagined objects, and then our incredible minds rearrange them and create internally a new object. And this is sometimes called creativity. It's a wonderful thing to use out here in the world. We need creativity. It's what provides music and art, and a lot of enjoyment out here can come from it. But let's not get terribly, terribly impressed with it. These are visions which appear from seen, heard, or imagined objects. On the other hand, the more one meditates, the more one's intuition is developed, and it is this intuition that becomes his real guide. I hallucinate a lot, yeah. And I know some of it comes out as creativity. And a lot of it, I know you have been practicing a long time. I know a lot of it you cultivate ignoring it. Called vairagya, non-attachment. I just ignore it. Okay, it comes, there it is. That's a nice little hallucination. No, thank you very much, and it goes away. The state of samadhi is not commonly experienced, but there are various paths described in the Upanishads to attain it. The path of negation, not this, not this. The path of selfless action, and the path of devotion. Emotional ecstasy, however, is not samadhi. Mere emotional ecstasy is not samadhi. Inspiration does help, but uncontrolled emotion is very dangerous. It can draw us into thinking that this is it, and it's not. In other words, inspirations from the guru are definitely beneficial, but ecstasy which is full of emotion cannot be called deep meditation or samadhi. A simile will give you an idea of samadhi. 4 aspirants are at the foot of a mountain. They begin their search along different paths using different methods, and they describe the experiences of their journey differently until they reach the top of the mountain. When they all reach there, they have the same experience. There they agree that they are all at the same place. This experience cannot be shared with unexperienced aspirants. Mere explanation is like the husk of a grain. One does not discover the nourishing properties of the grain's kernel by studying its husk. The expression, all roads lead to Rome, is true. But only Raja Yoga and its methods of training are scientific and thus subject to scientific verification. Raja Yoga leads the student to the final state of realization, not by training the intellect alone, but by training the whole person, making one more useful to himself and to mankind. The closing comment is, blessed are those who have attained samadhi. Blessed are those who are striving to attain it. There we go. End of this little journey on lectures on yoga. It's been fun. We'll start something else here in a couple days and take another little journey together. Indeed, I ignore it. Good. Takes a while to get used to ignoring it, doesn't it? It's a long, long habit we have developed, all of us, to not ignore what comes up from inside, to get dragged into it. But as Patanjali says, have a good attitude, practice for a long time without a break, and we learn how to ignore it, don't we? Amazing, isn't it? You look back and you realize, wow, I've been doing this for so many years, and gee, I'm actually doing it. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So, end of this little textual journey. We'll start something new. Thank you all for visiting and hanging out. And of course, have a nice meditation. And where do you find this samadhi that we are looking for, this turiya samadhi? We find it in the silence at the end of the Om, and that's just one way of saying it. It's beyond the senses. It's internal, and one way of doing that is literally to follow the Om. So much fun. Yes, this ought to be fun. This stuff ought to be fun. I find that there's nothing more humorous in the world than the way our silly minds operate. Isn't it true? Om, says Raj. Thanks for playing, Johnny. And there is, what is that? That's a smiley face from Anjin. Okay, so see you later. What's today? Today is Wednesday, so tonight for those who are in the proper time zone or want to be up in the middle of the night, tonight we will go through, I've forgotten what's next in the Yoga Sutras. Oh yeah, it's the last section of chapter 1 of the Yoga Sutras, the one that says what happens after stabilizing the minds. There's a bunch of little wonderful gems that fall together in those last something like 10 sutras or so. So we'll touch on that tonight. See you tonight if you're free to do so. If not, it will be archived here if you want to look at it tomorrow. Anyway, thank you again for playing. Bye-bye. Borrowing from our Dutchy friends, Dewey, which means the same essentially as find the silence after the Om, or something like that. Right, Mom?